Hello, hello. 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? Beep, beep, beep. Isn't it? Okay. I have no idea where I left off last time. I don't even remember when last time was. What I do remember is most likely I skipped a league or something, which means I'm gonna crash because of bad inputs or no parsing or whatever. We'll see about that. Contest in progress. Well, let's have a go at it. Oh, I'm Upper Wood 1 League. Wow. Okay, now we can use sonar and silence. How long have I been in there? Does the thingy know? I'm winning all the time. What does it look like? I'm torpedoing at random and still having my usual routine of going up and down. Yeah, I can torpedo him anytime now. My torpedo's fully charged. Did I lose life here? What's the action around here? Lost a life for whatever reason. I don't know. Ah, there's a torpedo hole. He could have got me. Don't tell me I win because he just timed out. What was that about? Uh, Lost 2 lives. Okay, that thing's still laggy as hell. Give me my pointer back. So, losing matches is where all the interest is. Don't play at all, I want to know is the result. Lost lives, that's not interesting. I want to know when I timed out because my parsing wasn't up to date. Two lives, okay, well, no interest. I'm gonna take a look at the changes for myself and see what it looks like. So apparently from the header of it in 1.1 I can now use sonar and silence. And inside sources told me silence is the way to go. But that's completely unofficial and let's try and do without it. So sonar require 4 charge actions and oh, just tells me is he in a given sector or not. Okay, with a delayed answer. This is in respect of the time of issuing the command, not after the opponent moved. Okay, it sounds like it's too complex for me to use at night, so I'll try it during the day. Silence requires 6 charge actions to load. This allows you to move 0 to 4 cells in a given direction, not visiting already visited cells or islands. Your opponent will not know in which direction or how far you've moved. Now that's better. Oh, that's a good point. Let's get rid of that. Much better. Okay, so silence sounds cool enough. And sonar still, well, both still actually need to be parsed when I get in the result. So my needs for now, I'm gonna need urgently, oops, whoa, how many times a day can you change a keyboard and not get crazy? Parse new commands is my priority, and then we'll see about using them. So those would be sonar and silence. Um, where would those be? Probably near the beginning. Yeah, here are the orders. So we now have sonar, the quadrant, or silence with the additional information of a heading and a length, or a distance, or a count, or whatever. Okay, if I compile that, what breaks? Quadrant isn't readable. That's fine. I can delegate it, or actually, I'd probably better write an instance for it because I don't want to have to parse it with the quadrants. That probably ought to work. Good enough. What? What is visible method of read? Ooh. Well, I mean, I can delegate it anyway. So reads press. Yeah, that part of Haskell is not too good to look at. Just close your eyes. But I think that could be enough. That is not enough. Quadrants. Oh yeah, that's gonna be horrible. Yeah, okay. So precedence is gonna be quadrants composed with this might be better. No, it's gotta be mapped. Oh, this is really getting horrible. I'm this close to writing it by hand. Like the little devil in my mind is saying, do you really need to have a new type quadrant for this? And the angel says, oh yes, it is so much clearer, and now we know what kind of an integer we have, and we do not want to be confusing quadrant integers with x-axis integers. Okay, so there I am, trying to do good and suffering for it. Couldn't match quadrant with quadrant string because obviously read s is the wrong order to be able to compose as a functor. What is the read s and how do I? It's a function from a string to that one is not going to be easy to convert around. Okay, I'm going to do it dirty because the inputs are supposed to be well formed anyway. Where was I? So, reads precedence is ignored. Input string is S and it's quadrant Q where there is a single parse available, which is Q with whatever. Precedence, who cares? Of S. Why am I even bothering with this? All I need to put. Oh no, the thing is, yeah, I need. It's the other way around. It's this with the empty string. Oops, sorry. Where Q is the read of S. This is very dirty, but all I'm doing is delegating it to reading an integer. It's a bit more convoluted than I like because using the read instances of Haskell types is in theory supposed to handle precedence, which I do not want to do here because I'm only reading it in this context of inputs where precedence doesn't matter at all. Okay, well, in theory, this crashes so much less than whatever I'm doing now. The thing is, I'm already top wood for whatever reason, which sounds crazy to me. But, well, if I am, so be it. So I suppose I really should submit it because it's strictly better, right? Yeah, I appear to be slow when I switch positions and try to click on things, but the thing you've got to see is my mouse cursor is really so laggy because I'm streaming for whatever reason. I suppose it's the frame capture that makes everything slow. Okay, so where am I in my world domination plans? Parsing new commands as far as I know is done. Now what is the other most simple non-brain dead thing we could do? In the olden days, when you clicked submit and had 10 matches done, you'd have a ranking. I'm still at my old ranking and have no idea what I should change. Come on, CG, speed up. Oh well, I hope you're all stocked up with beer because we're gonna need it to get it through the evening. Okay, now I do have a bit more I think we ought to do about predicting the opponent's position. One rather important among which is how are we gonna... Oh, multiple things actually. I'm currently not able to correctly parse anything because my orders aren't symmetrical. So I am gonna have to do something about this. The crazy thing is nobody seems to actually be using sonar and silence, which would crash me when I read them. So maybe I'm gonna decide I actually don't care about that. I'll let it go around its battle while I'll think it around. Oh, they fixed the stupid typo. Took them a week. Wow. Well, I'll let it keep battling because it's really way too laggy to be of any interest. And let's have a go at making a parsing that's at least theoretically better than that thing here. So orders have two visions. They have an action vision and they have a what's viewed vision. So I really am gonna need two types about this. I'm not gonna do way too complex higher level types just now. So for now I'm just gonna separate. So the orders I'd rather have the compiler derive the reading types. So I'll have a visible order, which is what's seen, what is seen from the outside of an order. So those, well, in the order of the statement, are move with a distance, or surface with a quadrant, or torpedo with a position. Well, let's just put the two ends here and I'll see if I do better types later, or sonar with a quadrant, or silence with nothing later on. Those are the visible orders, and those are the ones I want to have a read instance for. Yep. And well, a command order is going to be the ones that are output by the AI. So what difference does it make? Yeah, I suppose I want to have surface here. It's that move actually has a power here that I'm going to need to charge. Surface has nothing. It's going to be surface in the current quadrant. Torpedo int, sonar nothing, and silence has a heading and an integer that is not in the visible orders. This is gonna break everything lower down, but we're gonna correct it slowly. So I needed to find the powers. What could a power be? The powers are torpedo. Ooh, that already exists. That already exists. Yeah, I'm gonna need to prefix them. So power surface that means so power torpedo or power sonar or power silence. So is it a move? I completely forgot why I needed this. Is it a move? Is when I'm reading the opponent orders. So it takes a visible order. Is surface, I'm gonna assume it's also the same reason. I really don't need to read one here. No instance for show power. This one I'm gonna really have to define. But that's not too hard to write. Is move could not match int with heading move h. Well, yeah, of course. Why did I ever say move int? No, it's move heading. Int with quadrant. Surface Q. Yeah, well, that just simplifies. Oh, still compiles. That's kind of a miracle in its own right. So right now, all I've done is nothing but stop crashing when I get complex inputs. What I ought to do now is actually use that input to take a good decision on whether or not I think the opponent could be in this place or not. I completely do not remember where I did that last time, so I'm gonna have to read the code again. Good thing is it's not too long. Yeah, 200 lines with lots of comments. I've done worse. Like 190 lines. Let's remove that shit too. 180 lines. Yeah, I'd have to use those too. We'll get to that later on. Let's keep the stuff simple. What am I doing now? This is completely done. And I don't want to hear about it again. And predict the opponent's position, on the other hand, ought at least use that information properly. Where did I do that? It's in the opponent cover update. Opponent cover is, did he make a decision? Oh yeah, that's the part where I actually assumed the statement wrong and had to reconsider. So it turns out, and you may correct me if I'm wrong, because I really have not been spending as much as many hours on this as you likely have, but the general intention I got out of this is the opponent has to take a decision, which is at least one action, which is not necessarily a move. It can also be one of the powers, and it could be he's actually relieved from having to move if he's using a power at that same time. Which, well, why not? As long as it's fair and I can do the same, I'm fine with that. Ooh, cat fur. So, opponent orders. Yeah, that's just a list of orders. Move is just a list of move. So what's the change for now? Torpedo doesn't change wherever he goes. Sonar does not change wherever he goes. Silence, on the other hand, adds many possibilities to where the opponent may go. So this one will have to be treated. Let's do that. How's that done? What did I call a decision? Ah, that was move or surface. This is not gonna cut it now. I'm gonna actually have to just remember what steps he took and apply them. So let's just stop with that and do it differently. And also, yeah, for now, opponent trail was a very, how to say, very deterministic thing. Now it's gonna be a bit more fluid. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to rewrite all of that. Let's start with the end. What am I using it for? In the end, I'm just using it to shoot a torpedo. If there's any part of that cover that's in range for me, so the cover is my entry point here. No, torpedo. Cover. Opponent cover is what I want to be improving. So opponent cover. Well, let's see it very simply for now. The opponent cover is I have a set of cells, or whatever the name is, sector. No, sector. Sector is what I called quadrants. Sometime I'm gonna need to get this straight. What's the terminology in this one? Cell, calls them cells. So my cover is the set of cells I think the opponent, well, I think, let's be confident, I know the opponent could be in. And I'm trying to remove as many of those as I can. So how am I going to update this from the previous one? I just take them all, apply the actions in order, I think, and well, just keep those that make sense. So for for move and surface, we already had the action. We're just gonna have to implement that a bit differently. How did I make a difference between them? Oh, surface. So I'm putting that information inside of my MBO decision variable, and then I'm checking. Oh yeah, I had this case. Yeah, I'm really gonna just do it completely differently. So I'm just gonna take the previous one, previous so cover. This is all gonna move out. So I'm gonna take the previous opponent cover. Yeah, you try and type with the laggy interface. Previous cover, and what am I gonna do to it? What is even its type? It's a set of positions. So to every one of these, I'm gonna map. I suppose I could. I don't even know if I've got a functor instance for a set. Nah. What do I have for a set? Any kind of a map? Oh yes, there is a map. Okay, well I'll use that then. So map. Yeah, except no, I'm gonna want to destroy some of those. So I'm just gonna use all this then get back. So get the elements out of that set, the possible opponents' positions. Map may be, yeah, and multiple one of at that. Map may be, how am I gonna call that? Apply opponent moves for now. While they're not moves, we call them orders. And make a setback out of them. That's the general idea out of it. Now what I'm gonna need is to define this, well, get rid of the syntax errors first. Oh yeah, disappear all of that. We were debating that on the French channel just this afternoon. How many times am I gonna need to rewrite all of this stuff? Well, many more. So apply opponent orders. Let's start and define that. Takes an opponent position and gives me a maybe what? A maybe position 2. Gives me all of the possible positions from this one. And this is exactly a monadic fold over. So I'm going to apply an order, a simple one, to a position. So starting with a position with the list of opponent orders, which, as far as I can remember, is already defined over there. So this is just doing nothing and pushing the implementation further back. And apply order. Could I put a space here, please? Yeah. Well, don't drink in time. So apply order P. So now I'm gonna have to do the interesting part, which is, well, do something interesting with each and every one of those orders, which are, so we've got move, heading. What do we do when we have a P and a move? Heading, and not arrow. I think we already defined that one, didn't we? Yes, we've already got that. What we wanted to add about this is the range checking, which I think is constant. Let me just check around if I'm not using that in too many positions. Yeah, that's the opponent move function. Oh, this is kind of already everything I wanted, isn't it? Of course it is, because that's what I used last week to do this opponent move. Used to take an archipelago, a position, and either a quadrant or a heading, which means either a surface or a move, and return a position. That obviously is the function I want to use, except I'm not using either a quadrant or a heading, but directly a visible order, which I'm going to use directly. So let's do this. What's missing? What do you mean? Oh, yeah. So it's not a, well, it can be apply order. I'm fine with that. I'm just going to have to rename it here. So this is going to be apply order, except I'm missing the archipelago argument, which I'm adding back here. Okay, let's compile and see where the error is. So obviously this doesn't make sense. So this used to be the quadrant, so that's surface. Yeah. Surface position in quadrant returns position. That's perfect. And the right used to be move. And for some reason it's not in the same order. I'll just reorder this. Does that actually compile? Oh, it does. Okay. So I've got the move and the surface orders covered. Now let's take care of the torpedo one. That's one's as easy as it comes. It's just return the position. Still compiles. I need the sonar. Sonar doesn't give me any information whatsoever either. So sonar. And I'm left with silence. That's the interesting one. So silence, I get no more information than the fact he's acting in silence. So what am I going to do about this? Well, this one, that's the one that's going to multiply the possible positions I get. So I cannot keep the same type signature anymore. So we're going to have to change the monad from maybe to list. So for now, I'm going to do the completely incorrect thing of returning the position, but this is totally wrong. Debug trace is redundant. I can live with. What's this warning? Defined but not used. Okay. Defined but not used. Yeah, but that's gonna come back because I don't really have anything better to do than to shoot torpedoes yet. Except I know I'm gonna have to silence, but yeah, that's just a word on the street. Let's find it out for ourselves for now. So yeah, this actually compiles. Now let's make it not compile anymore while fixing. So apply order, instead of returning whether or not that position is still valid after applying the move, is going to return us the list of possible positions that could be valid after that move. So it's not too much of a change for those who only return 1. It's really just replacing just with pure. On the other hand, it's gonna enable us to apply the silence operation. So how would this one move? Well, let's just use a monad comprehension. It's going to be the list of position prime where. So what are the positions? We're gonna special case just for performance sake, but we're starting with well, the first positions, and then the other ones. We're gonna do this. I've got all of the directions, and I want to have 4 of them in each direction. So for each direction, I am going to take 4 of iterate. That's the time my move operation is not in the correct direction anymore, but I'll just deal with it later. So iterate from a position to move this position in that direction. Yeah, okay. It's going to be a concat map, and I think this might actually type check. I'm going to need a lot more horizontal wiggle room here. Okay, this fits. So that's the base. Now, what are we going to do with them? We obviously are still going to need the exact same guard as here. I'll factor them later. Mouse cursor, where are you? Yeah, here we go. I do not need those applicative weirdness. So I take the list of positions from whatever complex thing I've got here, which I hope will compile, but come on, it's gotta work. Check, they're still on the map. Check. Yeah, this is a bit wrong because I'm checking they're still on the map. Sorry, I'm checking they're not an island, but there's nothing currently preventing me from believing the opponent silences over an island, which is wrong. And come to think of it, I'm not even checking the opponent's known trail yet. Yeah, I can't do that this evening. I'll do this in a later one, but that's something I really gotta write down. Where's that buffer? Here it is. But that's something for later on. Right now, I'm gonna trust him that he's not crossing his own trail. Yeah, so that's not a take I need. It's a take 4 of a take while with the 2 conditions being here. So, oh, this is gonna be, how can I ever fit this in 80 columns? So take 4 of a take while guards here of said iterate. So the guards this one and that one. This cannot compile. What's wrong? Too many parentheses. Oh no. For one direction. Wait. Yeah, actually that. Oh. What's this parenthesis for? Nothing. Get rid of it. At least indent a bit. This here, this. Here, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. For all zeros, yeah, which can go here, but that's for the concat. Okay. I do not have my archipelago. Yes, let's add it back. Wrong type. Oh yeah. From no, just pause. Much better. So fix this one. It's not a map maybe anymore. It's the simple concat map. Ooh. Okay. Why am I not using torpedo cooldown anymore? Actually, I think I never was. I'm just shooting torpedoes as soon as I can, which is fine as is. So, I have visibly not changed much. All we know for now is I possibly have a better representation of where the opponent might be. It's no need to delete all of it when I copy paste. Testing is for non-believers. Well, that looks a lot worse than before. What did I mess up? Some kind of a crash. Timeout, yeah. I probably should have tested it maybe once before. Read, no parse. Give me something to work with. I might do with a bit of a trace here. Woohoo, coding game, are you here? Do you remember me clicking play my code? I do, but what is that? When did I read that? That's not the interesting part of it. Can it be? Oh yeah, that's all of the int stuff. Yeah, so the interesting part could be here, opponent orders, which NA, always forget that one. That was the same bug that cost me so many wasted minutes last time, wasn't it? NA, yeah, of course. What do I do with NA? Well, I'm just gonna accept it as an order, or I could. No, the clean thing to do is not to accept it as an order, but as an entire line. So, opponent orders. Yeah, and I've got the raw stuff. That's exactly where I had it last time. I don't know where it went this time. So if opponent orders raw is NA is nothing, empty list. Otherwise, keep going. Compiles, huh? Let's try it again. Well, doesn't crash is all we need to submit for now. Well, that's a lot more victories in a row, isn't it? 68% at 13 battles seems a bit up, but really nothing is up to date currently on Coding Game. Haha, let's prog around. Sorry, this is important. Except I can't click on it if it's too slow. Where's the share button? That's the one. Here we go. Important stuff. Anyway, where was I? 10%. This is gonna take all night. So let's look at a random match in the list and see what's wrong with it. Except it's so laggy, it's painful. How about times 5? I don't think it actually can go that fast, but we'll try anyway. Did it torpedo me? Just, come on. Why can I not have the information here? Torpedo. Lost 2 lives, direct hit. I only had 1 life anyway, so that's wasted. Yeah, well, that's not too bad. That's kind of him surfacing more often, and it actually pays in some occasions. How about this one? That's way too fast. What here? Lost 2 lives. Okay. Looking better, you think? I don't know. Looking better than the one that crashed all the time. Yeah, I'd hope. But I mean, what even is my ranking? I have no idea. Ah, 32. Yeah, but how old is that ranking? Coding games like anything but live nowadays. Well, let's give it a chance and see how it goes, and then I'll implement actually using silence, because that seems to be all the rage these days. One other thing I wonder, yeah, I could also try and use the map better, because I'm currently not stupidly trolling back to where I was, but I could still optimize that a bit. Have I not been streaming for more than an hour now? Time flies when the computer's that laggy. I'm gonna be out for beers for like 5 minutes. Can I put an overlay back on that I'm gonna forget again? Oh, this is such powerful technology. Okay, be back in a jiffy, folks. Okay, this time I'm not forgetting to get the overlay out. So, where am I in my plans? Still at 1-1. Oh, well, of course, can't type fast. Opponent has a trail 2. I think that's a bit advanced for wood 1, but it is something I am gonna have to do later on. So maybe later. So, well, if any of you are still around on the chat, what's your opinion on this? Is the interesting thing to do now move more intelligently? Because right now my moves are, well, not totally stupid, but in no way smart. Or alternately, well, implement silence and actually use it instead of just parsing it and taking the opponent's cover area accordingly. So 1 vote for silence, nothing for the moves. Who's that coding game and what's it doing on my stream? Yeah, it's interesting to you, but then you'd have to tell me how to do it. Well, on the other hand, that's kind of the same for silence anyway, so. Ah, yeah, that's a good idea. I should do the cheap heuristic. Can I plus one that shit here? I don't know. Silence. Well, okay, let's silence them. So, silencing. How are we gonna go about this? So, for silencing, the ability comes after 6 charges. If I got it correctly, it seems to be possible to charge and use in the same move, which is kind of a slight complication, but nothing too impossible. Do I need to silence intelligently, or do I just move around someplace I can? Well, we'll see. For now, what I am missing. Oh, the thing is, oh, the channel has not been telling me this. Hey, dear channel, tell me, when you say I should use silence, is it as a replacement of torpedo or in addition to torpedo? Because that is kind of going to change how I'm going to implement it. Yeah, most of your arguments make sense. Well, I'm going to take the intermediate route, and anyway, I need to. In the end, I'm gonna have to make choices about this, so I am gonna need to actually parse and or at least maintain my status of how many charges I've got on each one. So that's the first thing I'm gonna be doing, and then silence. Where's the interesting place to go? I mean, this is Wood 1. I cannot be doing Bayesian networks and information theoretical stuff yet. That's not reasonable. So I'm just gonna do random silence just to throw him off, and this could be enough for a start. So the first thing I'm gonna need to do is actually read this torpedo cooldown thing and the silence cooldown. I want both of them to be used now. So, do I give a priority to torpedoing? Let's say yes for now. I'm not doing any interesting thing with my life or the opponents yet, but that's gonna come too. So the harder part is gonna be what do I give a charge to? I have no idea, but in the meantime, let's at least make it a variable. So how am I even nothing surface? Yeah, this was my older way of implementing actions. So we could say I dumbly prioritize on charging torpedoes. But this time, since I'm not always going to shoot a torpedo, but only when I've got an interesting destination, when I do not have an interesting destination, I can charge silence and use it. And then again, just a bit later on, if that's not enough, having an interesting torpedo destination could be winnowed down to smaller covers. So, well, let's do this one by one. First thing is I'd like this output routine to actually be readable because I completely forgot how it works, and this is going to be needing generalization if I'm going to go any further with this. So how did this work? I have a selected destination. That's the move destination. That's something that I understood I actually do not need since moving is not mandatory. It's taking an action, that is. Which is interesting in its own right, but I mean with the current level around here, I suppose moving is a good move all the time because I want to be charging the actions for later on. So what it is going to end up here, intercalate the pipe with all of my actions. So map show actions yet to be defined. And what are my actions going to be? We've kind of always got a move action. No, sometimes we can get stuck, in which case we surface, but only if we cannot do anything more interesting. So, ooh, that's going to be interesting for the part of logic. Um, so we do remain with this interesting part of logic. Do we have an interesting torpedo destination, which is torpedo action, which I do not want to be a maybe string anymore, but maybe action. Oh, this is going to simplify everything. Let's compile that and see where the error is at. I do not have an action. How did I call them? Something order, command order. That's stupid. I'll put it action. So this doesn't make sense anymore. Of course it doesn't. TYTX, so torpedo action is simply torpedo TXTY. This is a lot easier than before. Code simplification, I love that. No overloaded strings. What's wrong with that? Yeah, the big errors, I do not have an action defined yet. So the move action is interesting. Move action I'm gonna keep. So yeah, it's kind of, do I have a selected destination, which is the same as can I still move? And let's not do anything too interesting for now. I'm gonna keep this logic. So if we have a current possible destination, we'll go there. I'm gonna keep that. And if I cannot, well, nothing. Yeah. So the move action, I'm gonna put it around here. So from a destination, selected dest. I'm gonna extract and I'm gonna make a move dx dy from it. Except this one does not necessarily exist, of course. So I'm lifting over the maybe monad. This is going to be painful for a long time. I'll see that later on and put types if it's not enough, but the gist of it is here. So move action is defined. Torpedo action I'm going to keep as is for now. Just going to add a few types to make sure. No, this is supposed to be maybe an action, not an action. I still won't have a command order. Oh, move as a heading. Sorry, I must have been in some other game. Power. Oh yeah, I need to select. Yes, a power to charge now, since I was always charging torpedoes up to now. Well, that's kind of the same. Well, I'm gonna delegate that to later. But I'm gonna have to make a decision here too. Yes, I am. New trail. Why do I not have a trail anymore? Did I erase it already? New trail used to be just trail. Then why have it? Because in the case of a surface action, it gets back, sorry, to Archipelago. Okay, no, I'm gonna have lower level logic that's not gonna be any fun with the action ordering. But this is fine, we can deal with it. I do not want to make anything too complex at this time of the night. So I'm gonna arbitrarily take the decision that I move first and then possibly take the actions. Other orderings will be implemented later on, but not at this time of the night. So new trail I'm going to have to define at some point. Another thing I'm gonna need is have an interesting silence. Destination is not enough. It's kind of a move with a distance. What's a heading and a distance? Just move because I'm totally uninspired tonight. I'm gonna need that, so that's gonna be a silence action. And the ultimate action list is gonna be, oh, I erased that. Well, okay, I'll put it back. The ultimate action list is gonna be, do I have a move? If so, do. So a move action, it's a maybe, but We'll deal with it later on. Do I have an interesting torpedo destination? If so, well, go ahead. So torpedo action. And do I have a silence action? If so, go ahead. If I have none of those, if that's nothing, when I get rid of the maybes, this means I've got to surface. That sucks, but I have to. And if I have to surface, then the new trail is the archipelago. I've probably got a bug here because I'm actually not handling my surface point. That's something I'm gonna have to do later on. Let's just make a note of it. For now, who cares, but I'll get back to it. And if it isn't, then actions and trail, whatever it is. So I need to put new trail in this. What's wrong? Oh, I need to actually define it to something. Well, it's fine. Yeah, mixing syntax around. If all I've got is type holes, then that means the structure is sound and all I need to do is some more implementing. So what I'm missing for now here is this hole. Which power do I want to boost or yeah, charge? For now, we said we gave priority to torpedoing. So if torpedo cooldown is more than 1, then charge torpedo, I suppose. Yeah, I am going to. This is gonna be ugly, but yeah, we have to go through it. So let's get my move action here to do it last. So I need to charge a power, that's for sure. So that's an actual choice I'm gonna have to make. And what is it gonna be? Well, let's say for now, if torpedo cooldown, come on, cooldown, is more than 0, then it is gonna be the torpedo power. Otherwise, it's gonna be the silence one. That one was easy. What's gonna be a bit more messy is can we do the silence action? Actually, if this is a good referee, he will not kick me out if I attempt a silence action, even though I do not have the power for it. I mean, obviously, I've been torpedoing without checking it for now, so I'm gonna assume this is fine. So what am I missing now? Haha, do I have an interesting silence move? Well, that's a trickier one. Considering my brain dead global moving strategy. An interesting silence move for now. It's just gonna be some move that brings me in. I have no interesting idea, so I'm just gonna say the place with the widest diameter. Let's say, I'm gonna say this. Any kind of silence that more than 0 has a better chance of decreasing my global available range than anything, especially considering the way I move for now. But if it throws the opponent off guard, why not? Or just moved 0, that's not as bad as anything. Let's start with that. I mean, it's just as easy as anything else. So silence, in which order are the arguments? Silence, heading direction. So the correct heading, you heard it here first, is south. And the correct amount is 0, but don't tell that to my opponents. How am I not using action? Yeah, well, if I don't output anything, the referee is gonna kick me out. How's that? Well, it compiles. Okay, this time I will test it in the IDE once at least for stupid parsing errors. Coding game, are you here? So what failed? NA again? I thought I took care of the NA case, didn't I? Unknown comment. Move S torpedo. Are you meaning to tell me move necessarily has to be capitalized? Well, okay, that's what I thought I did, but still you could be a little more tolerant. I'm mapping show to actions, and where's action defined? It's command order deriving show. Okay, well, I'm not gonna be deriving show then. I'm gonna write it myself. So show move, heading, power. There we go. Show of surface. Show of a torpedo action. Show of sonar, which I'm totally not using yet. Show of silence. So heading, not power, no, distance. It compiles, therefore it works. That's better. Yeah, well, it compiles and it plays a full game, so that's all I need to submit. Huh, tough crowd. Wait, what? Why did he lose here? That one. Yes, please show me that again. Near the end. Oh, I hate this ID. So moves move wherever. God, yes. I'm confused and the laggy IDE I cannot click on is not really helping. Why can we not use arrow keys to move around anymore? What's going on here? Why am I trying to move to impossible places? So, move east, charge silence, silence 0. Silence is denied when it moved east. Move north and silence. Move north and silence. Okay, we're fine now. should surface, and all I say is silence. I assume he's gonna surface. And now I'm silencing again. This one does not make sense. Okay, the thing is he did not detect the silence ended up as a surface, and as a result he still thought there was no legal action. So I am gonna have to determine whether or not my actions are valid. So I know if I have to clear the current known trail or not. Or does the referee give me my previous move? That would simplify things a lot. Input for each turn. No, it doesn't. Come on, referee. You could have. That is not symmetrical, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I am gonna have to determine whether or not my silence action was possible. Well, it's not that hard. I'm theoretically also gonna have to determine whether or not my torpedo action mm, was chosen. So charge power is not a function of anything. So the way it is, I can move it up a bit. Okay. And now torpedo action is dependent. Well, I'm gonna make it dependent on me having enough torpedo power available. So how much torpedo power available do I? Well, it's exactly if cooldown, well, second cooldown, adjusted cooldown is 0 after the fact, well, factoring in the fact I could have charged it just in the same turn. So guard have enough and the rest remains. How do I know I have enough? Well, that's easy. It's just torpedo cooldown minus from enum. So did I charge torpedo? So charge power is torpedo. In that case, remains the same. And silence action is going to have mostly the same thing. So silence cooldown minus from enum charge powers silence. Yeah, equals 0, or to be very safe, less than 0, which I forgot in the former one too. Of course, silence cooldown is going to have to be defined now. They're not equal. Let's make them comparable for equality. And this seems to compile. So you know what that means. won. Yay. Didn't I win the last time? Yeah, that one's not very interesting because it's a very open map and he's having very connected paths, which means he could be anywhere, which means I'm going to be shooting a lot and not observing a lot of silences. But that's okay. Well, that's quite a few more victories. And it's still as sluggish as ever. Just tell me when I meet someone we know so I can go and nag him on the chat. So 21 battles is 2%, and after all those victories, I'm still 211. Well, hello, code in game, wake up. Do I know this one? Of course I do. Why isn't he CG anymore? Beats me. You think my wake up command worked? I mean, 26% with 30 battles unless they change. I'm not so sure. Yeah, well, I suppose I've got to take the small victories where they are. That's still never gonna be enough. Wow, what a minefield. Oh, that's an interesting one. Ah, no, okay. Yeah, and that's my lousy move sequence that is costing me dearly. I'm dying just because of the move sequence here. Ooh, that one's gonna suck. Oh, Oh no, this is a miracle. I was afraid he was gonna get stuck under the lower left island forever and just die there repeatedly. Yeah, well, that's not winning too much, is it? How disappointing. So, chat suggestions say just replace a move with a silence, which indeed is as good as anything. Then at some point I am gonna have to implement a better move. I mean, for now, my move is stupid and that it tends to go right and paint itself in the corner, and it's all the more stupid that it makes really wide streaks across the board, which is a very fine way of giving the opponent as much information as possible as to where I am as fast as possible. And that's not too good either. Well, in a way, unless we use silence, which I am gonna have to do at some point. Well, smartly. But yeah, that is gonna come hand in hand with actually moving properly. 86%. Nah, I think it's done now, but then is my ranking up to date? Who knows? Oh. Okay, let's improve. I hope you heard the quote. Um, let's make a more interesting silence action. My silence action could replace the move, in which case I was wondering already. My torpedo action doesn't seem to care about distance yet. Am I wasting charges here? I probably am, and that's ridiculous too, isn't it? What's the rules for a torpedo? I think it's a BFS distance of 4. So if I have an interesting torpedo destination, I should also check whether or not it's reachable. So I'm gonna need to use that BFS again, and I don't even remember how it works, but that's okay, we'll fix it as it goes. Mm -mm -mm. So right now, this torpedo chute position. Oh yeah, I remember. I took the possible position that's the furthest away. That was a shortcut around the meeting of try and do more damage to him than I'm doing to me. Let's reindent that and do something better out of it. The torpedo chute position, we'd also like to ensure it's the well, it's reachable according to the torpedo rules on the left, which is a simple BFS. So I'm gonna filter them to be at a distance of 4 from my new location. I do not want to go, that's going to be for later on, I do not want to go into thinking it over on whether or not I want to move, whether before the torpedo or after the torpedo action. So just filter, yeah, distance to me or distance. It's not really a distance, it's a walking distance. Well, let's call it like that. So from myself in my new position, which is going to be y prime x prime, and I want it to be 4. Does that kind of work? What am I saying? Why is that? Oh, that sounds like a missing parenthesis. Doesn't it? Yes, it does. Here it is. That one's actually not needed. So walk distance, yes, I am going to need to define. It is going to be archipelago. So let's define it. I did write some kind of a BFS last time. So let's work with that probably. So walk distance takes archipelago. Starting position. What was I doing? Starting position and the possible torpedoing position. That's never gonna work because the first one even kind of needs to be switched here. So Missing an argument. I'd expect walk distance to be I don't even want to be doing this. I don't want to walk distance. I just want to call it. Is it torpedoable? Its type is supposed to be exactly that. That's good. Then I define a pos type for this. This is what I want. Does this at least type check? No, it does not. Why does it not? Because I do not have a y prime and an x prime, and those are actually going to need to be computed before the torpedoing part. And as a result of the move and silence actions, I'm going to have a y prime and an x prime defined later. Well, let's make it an error because at least I'm gonna have to get back to it. So if I've got an archipelago and a starting position, is it torpedoable? Well, it is. Do I want to read this BFS again, or do I want to just write it over again because I'm using it differently? I'm going to write it again because it is going to be easier. It's just a local BFS, which I'm going to write as go, except this time it's got a timeout or a time to live or a distance to live of 4. So you're at start and you can move 4, after which it's over. So if and it's a boolean, yeah, actually, yeah, I could do it this way. Torpedoable, it's just going to be a set of the positions I can send a torpedo to after I moved, and it's a simple depth limited BFS. I'm gonna need a closed list and a queue. So closed list and a queue. And each time I get there, I get a distance. So the cutoff, if d is more than 4, just move on. If it's a correct position, return it and branch. Is that all of the other cases? Yeah, actually, no, I need the cutoff, so well, I don't really need it, but let's be strict in the code we write. So if position is a member of the closed set, don't move, and otherwise, so it's going to be all of the cases. Return P and update the closed list and Q and Q prime, because this time I did not forget. Social prime is insert P in the closed list, and Q prime is map move. Well, valid move, I'm gonna have to take care of that again. Um, move P of all directions. This is incorrect. Well, let's first take care of that. Filter. So, well, it's the usual suspects. It's inbounds and in arch. So let's call it movable arch, which is not defined yet. So movable takes an archipelago in a position and returns whether or not that's kind of a possible position to move to. And that's easy enough. Its position is in the range of the array, and considering it is, that place is not an island. Is that not the way? I never remember the way. Just a second. Where's in range? In range takes bounds and index. So if you've got the bounds and index, so bounds and index, and it's a boolean, not a position. Getting tired. That's not a set. No, it isn't, because I need to make it one. It thinks it got a set of integers instead of pairs of integers. Why does it think that? This is what I expected to be. Of course, map move, I need, well, to filter the movable and to add the increased distance to that. Now we're missing the move and silence new position. What is that position gonna be? We need, yeah, to take both of them into account. So that, oh, actually that's a bug. Yeah, my old code didn't really care about any of that. So yeah, it actually missed a lot of shots because of that. The new position is, so we've got the old position. We are possibly applying a move action on top of that. Thing is, it is possible, but I'm not gonna do it tonight, but it is possible to surface then silence, but nope. I'll make the silence conditional on the fact we've actually got a move, which means the move action, I'm moving here, and this part here. So that XY is very simply, am I trying to convince myself, Well, we take the former one. We apply the move action to it. What happens if there is none? So it's actually the same thing as that selected test. This is gonna undergo so much refactoring later on. That move is directly the selected test. Let's just call it the selected test. It's the selected test if there is one. If I've got a silence action, which I do not necessarily have, but we'll see to that later on, then it's gonna have to be applied to, which currently is 0, so actually I don't really care about that yet, but I will later on. So let's call it apply silence. Silence action to selected destination. Yeah, let's let the compiler give me the type. Yes, what's so apply silence has type maybe command order heading, and I want the position in the end. What? Selected dest is a heading? Ouch. How did this come to be? Seriously? That is, it's not a destination, it's a heading. Better. Which means yeah, well, I'm gonna do both. So the selected destination this time is the other part of that. Oh no, this one actually wants a heading. So apply silence. I do not want it to take a heading. This time it takes a destination. Yeah, you're just saying that because I told you. Come on, give me the real type. Yes, this is a much better type. That's the one I want to be implementing. So apply silence, give me a position in the end. So apply nothing to a position, it yields that exact position. And apply just a silence of what's the format? I forget. Silence is heading distance. So heading distance to a position is, and this is yet something I'd have to clean up some point, but hey, my code is only that. Just iterate, move position in this direction, d times in this heading. Not while the type checker would catch that. What's wrong? Yes, it's a double bang. Are you compiling? What's wrong? Talk to me. What do you mean? That's not a parse error, that's... Oh, there's one extra bang here. My bad. And couldn't match. Maybe it's a pass in the end, isn't it? No, it isn't. It's a maybe pass. I want an actual pass, which means from maybe, and if none of those worked, we get the original one. Still good. Torpedoable. Yes, I changed torpedoable, if I recall correctly, to be the total range. So this one I'm defining here. Well, let's call that a... Oh wait, I already had that. This is what... Oh, come on. Yes, I already had the possible torpedo destinations to make an intersection with. This is ridiculous. I've done my BFS twice now. Well, that's what I get for cutting it late at night instead of the useful hours. So torpedo cover is already exactly what I wanted, except it's doing it from my pass, which is not the interesting place to be from anymore, but y prime, x prime, which I just computed there. And that's actually about it. And if you can shoot, you shoot. So torpedo should pass absolutely does not need anymore to do this stupid thing here. So we're almost back to where we started, except now we understand it better again. It's non-exhaustive. You know what? I don't care because this code is not needed anyway. This one's worse. Why am I missing some cases here? Ah, yeah. Yep. Apply silence. Indeed, does not cover every case. That is something I'm gonna live with now because I know it's necessarily the silence section here. And this one is a warning. That's not too bad. And that's it. Well, how about that? Does it compile? That is not an acceptable outcome. Oh, wait. Yeah, maybe it is. Can you just put the mouse in the correct location to stop the sluggishness and just go to the end? Torpedo, not timeout. Yeah, we'll try again then. Yes, better submit. That's a lot of losses for a streak start. Show me that. Oh, wow. Yes, this is so gonna need to be fixed. So that's kind of the same case as before. Why am I? So it, wait, go to, yes, go here. So kind of same as usual. It went to the corner and did not manage to get out of it for most likely the same reason as before. What are you doing here? That's not the game. He won that game. Non-reproducible code. Oh, come on. Well, that's the opponent's fault, but if you remember the replay from the last battles tab, my bot went in the upper right corner and, well, literally cornered itself, and it's still winning. I want a loss on that one. That's better. Is it the same category of loss? Yes, it is. That's the one I wanted to see. So let's go a few clicks back. Yep, here. So move north, silence. That's good. All good to now. Move east, silence. Par for the course. Move east, silence. This one's still normal. And now we still get a silence that should not have happened. And that's just because I lost track of it. So we get this new, yeah, I got sidetracked. So while I was implementing the same old BFS a second time for torpedoing, I forgot to merge that move and silence action into a single one. And that will encompass whether or not I actually did anything interesting. So move and silence, well, I mean, and just merge them. How do I know? Let's just say do not silence if there is no move. It's really no more complex than that. So we can call that literally move action, weird Haskell operator, and I need to include it, but that's going to be fast. Ooh, interesting ones. Okay, well, let's write it longhand then. If we've got a move action, then we can tolerate to have a silence action. Easy as that. Easy. Huh. Famous last words. Well, it compiles and this one's non-deterministic, so let's submit again and hope for a better matchup. Well, that's a much better start than the previous one, isn't it? Let's look at this, but globally it's really not that bad. So what's happening here? Oh, he's just copying my strategy. Well, that means it's a good one. I can live with that. What's the arrogant way to say it? Like, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Oh my, if this doesn't pass, what does? The only guy who beats me is the one who follows my trail. Yeah, I'm good. So this concludes my stream because I do not want you to see whether or not it passes. Nah, just kidding. I'm curious to... Ah, a few losses, come on. That was necessary. Still 0% because who wants to be able to trust the UI? This might have been another hour. Let me put the beer sign on again because it's so much more poetic than out to the toilets. And I'll be right back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. And I wish I could say just in time for bronze, but we all know the interface is lagging and I'm probably not currently above the... Oh, but I do have a notification, which is kind of a good sign. I can only hope... Oh, I'm better than the boss in Ocean of Cone. I will be promoted to Bronze League real soon now. Well, that's a good end. Okay, so as I said before, this stream is now over because I'm now in bronze and I'm gonna do the important stuff first, like diff and commit. No, never leave trailing space. Bad. So what did I change here? My strategy is quite simple, and let me try to phrase it just so I can remember it later on. So the current status movement is still the same, avoiding previous positions with the same priority. The movement now has the additional thing that if enough charges to silence 0 to the south, because south is the real place to be currently, well, in France at least. And about moves, that's about it. Abilities, torpedoes, this remains the priority. I'm still shooting within range as far as possible, only on a possible opponent position. And now only when charged enough. Additional ability I'm using now is the silence now, which is currently secondary to torpedoes. And distance equals 0, and even though the south is the best, it's still not important enough to mention. So that's about all I changed in the status. So the plans move more smartly remains something. The kind of smart I need to implement is not that obvious yet. So I probably am gonna have to hack together multiple components to try and see what I can do with it. My opponent prediction for now is not that bad. It is true I ought to keep the opponent's trail as well because he is also not allowed to step back on it. And if I ever go to predicting his moves, I'm gonna need it. But for now, I think for now, as far as I'm only reading what he did, I'm allowed to assume it's only valid moves. So it's not that important to remember it. Is it? I'm gonna need to think it again some more later on, but in any case, that is something where there's a lot more to have to think about, especially with the mines now, which are going to have a life of their own, and those are most likely going to end up in a Bayesian network of their own. So what's this commit going to be? This commit is going to be, well, multiple things. So it's going to be, how should I phrase this? I'm going to be managing, handling, keeping track of, so yeah, tracking charges, Silencing when not torpedoing, torpedoing, whatever. There we are. Okay, well, the important part of the stream's mostly done. If you've got questions on the chan, that's probably a good time. I mean, for all those of you who remain to the end, you're a very deserving bunch, and you're allowed to treat too. All I'm gonna be doing now is just make sure I implement at least the reading of the bronze input, so I do not crash on it anymore. Supposing I do, but I probably am. I mean, there's no reason. There are mines, and the word appears nowhere in my code, so it's necessarily crashing somewhere. But if all of that's done and nobody's interested in any more, considering my motivation and fatigue, I'll see if I'll refactor a bit and make the stuff a bit more robust and reliable, or if I'm just gonna go to bed asleep over it. We'll see. Up to you in the chat. Right now, I'm just gonna read the rules and see how the mine stuff works. So, questions for people on the chat. You can't place two own mines on the same cell. My question is, what happens if you do? When using trigger and triggering a mine with cause an explosion, you can only trigger your own mines. Okay. Like for torpedo, it has damage of 2. Okay. On the location of the mine and 1 to nearby, including for some reason diagonally. Or was that diagonally? I don't remember. You cannot trigger multiple mines at the same turn. Right. You cannot place and trigger a mine in the same turn. I suppose they mean the same mine, but then again, it's actually not specific, so this will have to be cleared out. Apart from that, I need to implement the reading and the writing of both of these, which I'll do because it's not that hard. I mean, while the code is in a compilable state, oh, let's tag it. I think I remember how tagging works. Tag, annotated. I've already got one, yeah. I do not do this nearly often enough. Got this one already, which said, yeah, okay. So tag commit. So what I want to be doing now is git tag -a, I suppose, bronze. That's the one. Am I? Here we are. Now, and let's, well, implement those two at least to prevent parsing from sailing. What did I say? Parsing from sailing? No, parsing from failing. Try and say that 5 times fast. And yeah, it's some points. So I suppose I've got a new power, which is going to be called mine. Just assuming here, which I suppose this is, I'll check those later, which I'm writing right now or I'm going to forget. Oh, mine. Command. No, I should. Yeah, for whatever reason, this one's first. So after silence, we have mine, which says nothing else, and we have trigger with a position. That's int for now. On the ordering side, we have mine with a heading, and we have trigger with a position too, which has a show instance right below that I'm not going to use yet, but I might just as well write it now. So if I have mine with a heading, and trigger XY, there we are. And I think that should be fine for the parsing. Yes, I do need to implement it as far as the opponent position detection goes. I'm not doing mine detection yet, so I can ignore these, but I need it not to be an error for the opponent. So, well, that's gonna be mostly easy. Mine does not change anything about the opponent position, doesn't even need parentheses. And neither does trigger. And this one's the same. I would have to fix it eventually, but then there's so much I need to change about this code. Now I know how this works. So let's just play this as is to make sure it doesn't crash too much and submit it, because why not? It's always better than what we used to have. Am I beating the boss? Okay, this is so submitting. I did not expect that. Well, that's not too bad. I did not plan. Oh, just a second. This one's important. If I can only manage to get a freaking link. For your life pleasure. Here we go. Feels better. Oh, mirror's block guy. Okay. He got me fair and square. Does 16% mean it's late, or how many battles are needed in bronze? Oops, he got me back, but let's not mention it. Oops, he noticed. Okay. Really? Stream's over, get lost. I'm only keeping the stabilized ranking so I can get a mention of it, but you're all dead and asleep here anyway. How many of us are there in bronze? Yeah, well, like meh, if parsing mines and trigger doesn't keep me from crashing that much, that means nobody's using them yet, so who cares anyway? This is so slow. What a pain. Oh, bad streak. I'm sorry, this is slow, but it's not my fault. Come on. We all know whose fault it is. Okay, that's mostly it. Come on and stabilize, and I can call it a night. Even my ranking. Show me something. Where am I? Oh, not done yet. Come on, hurry up. Actually, show me the full leaderboard. Because the whole point of the stream at the beginning was to ruin the Haskell rankings, so I do have to make sure I'm not too good at this. I'm currently 353rd. Ah, it's the end of the dynamic languages. Well, we all know what that means. First dynamic is number 12. Okay, I'm stable. Let's check the local ranking. And 123, 123. Well, okay, I'm gonna approximate that as exact mid bronze. Okay, well, I'm tired enough to call it done. Thanks, all of you who attended, and well, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do much more now because I mean this whole coding game and OBS hogging my machine is not making me much more productive, to be honest. But if any of you could learn anything or get excited and enthusiastic about functional programming, that's all for the best. Apart from that, see ya.